How do you know if one of your beliefs is true? It may seem consistent with all of the facts that you have been presented with, but what if those facts turn out to be fabrications? What if they are merely seeds planted by someone who wants to control your thoughts and thus your actions? This is more than an esoteric philosophical question. It is a prime determinant of whether or not you are truly free. After all, even if a person acts according to choice, if the choice is based upon false premises planted in your mind by others, can the choice really be considered free will? Think about that for a moment. Examples of psychological manipulation are many. Consider the spouse who is treated daily to a barrage of disparaging remarks meant to undermine his or her confidence. Think about protesters filling the streets of Name Your Town, calling for change and recognition. When viewers see news reports or clips on social media, what do you think they see? They are treated to selective scenes showing the protest in whatever light the person with the camera desires. Sometimes completely peaceful protests are infiltrated by agitators whose goal it is to incite violence. We're often treated to opinion masquerading as news. It's done by multiple groups, and the things that you see and hear will be dependent upon your echo chamber of choice. Perhaps manipulation will take the form of what you are not permitted to see and hear. Censorship is one means for shaping opinion. Then there's psychological manipulation for profit. Probably not too many of you remember the Marlboro Man, the macho cowboy who always appeared to be smoking a particular brand of cigarette. The advertising campaign was intended to plant the seed of thought associating masculinity with that brand of cigarette. Of course, sometimes these attempts fail. I don't think that the effort a couple of years ago to portray Lincolns as cool by using Matthew McConaughey worked all too well. But there are campaigns that work wonderfully. Want to sell tons of subpar hamburgers to families? Get the kids to want to go by having them associate a friendly clown with the food. And how about casinos that loosen a person's grip on their money with slot machines programmed to provide reasonably frequent but small payouts, while other slots in the room will make big, exciting sounds when a big payout happens? I've often wondered if there are casino plants that cause certain machines to pay out and then funnel the money back to the casino, but I have no evidence of it. Market manipulation relies upon psychological factors. There's the pump and dump that relies upon using blogs, newsletters, emails, and social media to generate a buzz about a certain small security. As retail investors are lured in, the price rises, often adding to the excitement before the inevitable plunge. Propagation of false information can also manipulate the price of companies and even whole markets. Is it any wonder the world waits breathlessly for the central banks to comment on interest rates? Their comments are carefully constructed to have the desired effect. Spoofing is another practice that involves placing fake orders that are withdrawn after they've had the chance to move the price in a particular direction. You get the idea. But there are much more sinister and pervasive forms of deception. What if, as George Carlin proposed, schools are set up not to train the mind to think critically, but to generate obedient workers? People who are just educated enough to run the machines, but not so much so that they realize that they are not truly free. Let me ask you a few questions to challenge some of the beliefs that are widely held. Do you agree that it is wise to keep a mortgage for as long as possible, refinancing periodically to take advantage of house appreciation? Do you agree that your house is an investment? Do you agree that you can't put a price on a good college education? Do you agree that by deferring 5 to 10% of your salary into a company-sponsored 401k plan, it will allow you to retire a rich person at the age of 65? Do you agree that we have to work longer hours and harder to enjoy the same standard of living that our grandparents enjoyed? Do you agree that treasury bills are risk-free? Do you agree that it's worth paying a car dealer tens of thousands of dollars every few years because you need dependable transportation and a car that expresses your individuality? Do you agree that a person who has a gigantic house and a luxury car must be wealthy? Do you believe that by casting your vote for the candidates that you are presented with, you are exercising your right to choose? Do you think that is air you are breathing now? Just kidding. But seriously, I do think that we have a big problem on our hands. Most of the people I have encountered in my life agree with the questions that I just asked. And why do they believe such things? It is because over years, the false premises that enable these illusions to be accepted as truth have been reinforced. Reinforced by TV, reinforced by the newspapers, reinforced by advertising, reinforced on social media, reinforced by our schools, reinforced by our parents who received the same mental programming. I use the word programming deliberately. Our brains can be programmed. All it takes is for our minds to be exposed to a seed. Whether the seed is true or false, if the mind agrees to it, the seed will take root and grow. Once planted, it is very difficult to remove. The mind tends to form agreements with ideas that it is exposed to frequently. Think about the child in elementary school who spends 6 to 8 hours a day exposed to the new Common Core curriculum and then comes home and watches 4 hours of TV. That's a lot of programming. As they grow into adults, they will struggle to find their own identity. Sure, their hobbies, their jobs, their actions will all be unique. However, the deep-rooted premises will always be there, preventing them from doing things that others would consider to be radical, even if those things are in their best interests. Because I have identified so many societal truths that are questionable, I have become a skeptic. Not a cynic, mind you, but a skeptic. A cynic is someone who is inclined to believe the worst of something or someone, regardless of evidence. A skeptic is someone who is inclined to question accepted opinions. This channel of mine has been dedicated to providing evidence that some of the economic ideas that we've been taught to accept are inconsistent with fact and thus cannot be true. I'm hoping that you have seen some of the evidence presented and have decided to reject some of the widely accepted ideas for yourselves. I invite you to go one step further. Become a skeptic. Inoculate yourselves against false ideas, especially in the realm of money and politics, where false ideas are most rampant. If someone says to you, you should be willing to pay $40,000 a year to send your child to college, ask them, what will my child be able to do with a $40,000 a year college education that he or she can't do with a $10,000 a year college education? Ask them, why is a college education necessary? Ask them, who benefits from me paying $40,000 a year for my kid to go to college? When someone says to you, that person must be rich, look at the car he drives. Ask them, how much do you think he owes on that car? Ask them, what do you suppose his car insurance costs? Ask them, do you think he owns anything of significant value that won't depreciate over time? When someone expresses a political opinion about one of two candidates, ask them, why are we presented with only two choices? When you see a video clip on the news or social media, ask yourself, why is it being presented this way? Ask yourself, what emotions is this video trying to evoke in me? Ask yourself, what am I not being shown, and why am I not allowed to see it? You get the idea. Be a skeptic. Make others work hard to influence your mind. You may find that by doing so, it helps others break free of their chains also.